Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. If you're an early stage startup founder, a product manager, or honestly just someone sitting on a brilliant app idea, you are in the exact right place. We're jumping straight in because today we're going to unpack how you can save yourself immense amounts of time, money, and frankly, heartache by validating your ideas before you actually build them. We're talking all about the MVP blueprint, taking you from that initial spark of validation straight to the holy grail, product market fit.
So I want you to ask yourself, should this product exist? I know, it sounds incredibly simple, right? But this is literally the ultimate anchor question every single product team absolutely must face before writing a single line of scaling code. If your answer isn't a definitive, data-backed yes, then, well, everything else, the polished design, the advanced features, that massive marketing budget, it's all completely irrelevant. Early-stage product management is entirely about learning as quickly as possible to answer this exact question.
Because look, if you don't answer that question early on, you fall into what is basically the startup death trap. We see this all the time. Startups waste months of engineering and marketing budget on these fatal mistakes. They suffer from perfectionism, waiting way too long to launch. They build dozens of completely unnecessary features instead of just focusing on one core problem. They scale way too early by hiring aggressively before they even know if anyone cares. And worst of all, they totally ignore user feedback. The result? They end up building this beautifully complex platform that absolutely nobody actually wants. So, how do we avoid that trap? Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover the true minimum viable product mindset, how to fake automation to validate demand, the lean startup loop, real versus vanity metrics, and finally, achieving product market fit. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the true MVP mindset. It's all about learning, not perfection. Now, an MVP is the absolute simplest version of a product that actually delivers core value. Just look at the stark contrast here between the messy, scrappy reality of an MVP and a polished final product. Your MVP is simple, laser-focused on learning, and operates in an environment of extremely high uncertainty. Compare that to a final product, which is highly polished, focused on scaling, and usually has this big, expanded ecosystem. You really have to shift your mindset completely away from early polishing. Your MVP is simply the fastest way to figure out if users actually care.
To really drive this point home, let's look at one of the most famous examples in tech history, Airbnb. The founders didn't sit around building some complex global booking platform with advanced logistics on day one. No way. Their MVP was literally renting out air mattresses on the floor of their own apartment. They just needed to validate a very basic, fundamental human question. Would strangers actually pay money to stay in someone else's home? They tested that assumption with almost zero technology.
Or think about Dropbox. Building the actual underlying file syncing infrastructure for Dropbox was incredibly complex and would have taken forever. So before they built all that out, the founder just created a simple 3-minute demo video showing exactly how the product would work. The product wasn't even fully built yet, you guys, but that one video caused their waiting list to absolutely explode overnight. They validated massive market demand with nothing but a video. Talk about a game changer.
Moving right along to section 2, faking it to validate. Let's look at some manual testing tactics.
To see how we can turn this into actionable testing strategies, let's talk about the Concierge MVP. This is where humans manually perform the service behind the scenes. And here's the key: the user actually knows they are interacting with a human. For example, say you're building a highly personalized smart meal planning app. Well, your Concierge MVP might just be real human nutritionists manually creating those meal plans and emailing them out to your early customers. You are validating that people actually want the meal plans before you spend $1 year and $1 million building an AI to generate them. And then we have the Wizard of Oz MVP. In this scenario, users believe the system is fully automated. But just like the classic movie, there are humans secretly pulling the levers manually behind the curtain. Imagine you're launching an AI customer support startup. Early on, you, the founder, might just be sitting at your laptop at 2 a.m., frantically typing out the answers to customer requests as fast as humanly possible just to test the workflow. Meanwhile, the user thinks they're chatting with this incredibly advanced futuristic AI. Now, while both of these methods require you to roll up your sleeves and do the hard manual labor behind the scenes, the actual user experience is entirely different. With the concierge approach, the user clearly sees a human helper. But with the Wizard of Oz, the user sees what they think is fake automation. You can choose the right early-stage validation tactic for your specific team based entirely on what exact behaviors you're trying to test. All right, Section 3. Build, measure, learn, repeat. The famous lean startup loop. Once you've figured out how you're going to test, you need a system to continuously iterate. Step 1, build a very simple version of your idea. Step 2, measure how users actually behave with it. Step 3, learn from those results. And Step 4, improve continuously. The absolute critical factor here, speed. You want to run through this build, measure, learn cycle as incredibly fast as you possibly can. Rapid prototyping is literally your best friend right now. And the good news is, today, executing that loop is easier than ever before. We have this amazing shopping list of modern validation tools. You've got Figma for making clickable prototypes, Typeform for collecting data, Webflow for spinning up instant landing pages. These no-code tools allow product teams to execute that loop and validate ideas in days, not months. You literally do not need a developer to test if your core concept has legs anymore. Which brings us to Section 4, real versus vanity metrics, tracking what actually matters. As we transition into talking about data, I have to issue a massive warning here. Measuring the wrong things during testing can give you a really dangerous false sense of security. You absolutely have to understand the stark difference between vanity metrics and real product metrics. Vanity metrics, things like total app downloads or your social media followers, they look super impressive on a slide deck, right? But they provide almost zero insight into actual tangible value. Look, if 1 million people download your app and then never open it again, you do not have a business. Real metrics like user retention, daily active users, repeat usage, those are the numbers that actually prove you are solving a painful problem for people. Okay, our final section, number 5, achieving product market fit, the absolute holy grail. So what is the ultimate goal of all this rapid testing we've been talking about? It's product market fit. But how do you actually know when you have it? Well, you'll start to see clear, undeniable signs that validate it's finally safe to hit the gas and scale. You'll see high retention. Your users consistently keep coming back. You'll see organic growth. Users are just naturally recommending the product to their friends. You'll have strong engagement. And honestly, most tellingly, if you asked your early users how they would feel if they could no longer use your product, they would tell you they'd be highly disappointed. Now, what if you run all your tests and you don't see those signs? Guess what? That is actually totally okay. Sometimes validation just reveals a weak idea, and that requires a pivot, a major product or strategy shift based entirely on what you learned. Think about Slack for a second. They originally started out as a gaming company. The game totally failed, but their internal communication tools showed massive promise. So they pivoted, and today Slack is a multi-billion-dollar giant. That is the incredible power of just listening to the data. To summarize this entire MVP philosophy, I really want you to remember this one quote. The goal is reducing uncertainty. That's it. The goal of early-stage product management isn't building the biggest, flashiest product first. It's about evidence-based evolution. You are basically acting like a scientist. You're testing quickly, learning continuously, and proving your assumptions before you spend your most vital resources. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with a lingering challenge, something to push you to take immediate action. Look at that idea you've been sitting on. Ask yourself, what problem does it really solve? And more importantly, what is the absolute smallest MVP you can build today to test it? Stop polishing, start faking it, and go validate your market. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and happy building.